Let's play some video games. That's right, we're doing a Bionicle Inspiration Series episode on video game characters made in Bionicle form. So hopefully you can see some of these and get inspired from some of the video games you might play and be like, oh, I want to make this character in this video game. So yeah, let's start. Let's check out some really cool, well-built MOCs of video game characters. The first MOC we have is by Rondo Productions and is called Overwatch Reaper. In brackets, unfinished. Apparently it's unfinished, but I still think it looks really good despite that. So, this obviously is the character Reaper from the game Overwatch, which we've mentioned a few times in this Bionicle Inspiration series. As for those of you who didn't check out the most recent Bionicle Inspiration series podcast with Mitch Henry, we had a little bit of a discussion saying how a lot of the bright colors and very cool character designs in that game translate really well into Bionicle. So this is definitely an example of that. First thing I really like is what a fantastic mask choice. That mask looks so similar to Reaper's sort of mask helmet thing, which is fantastic. So I think this really is a really cool notion, is to look at masks and kind of, even flipping masks. People often do that. People will turn a mask upside down or to the side or whatever, and as a result they have a brand new mask, or you look at it and you kind of go, actually, you know what? That looks a lot like my friend Dave. I'm going to make Dave as a MOC, you know, something like that. So yeah, take a look at some masks and apply them to things you know and go, hey, you know what? That actually looks a lot like Reaper. Maybe I'm going to make a Reaper MOC, because like that is such an uncanny perfect representation of Reaper's face. So that's fantastic. Also, what I think is really cool, kind of comparing this MOC to the original source material, it's cool to see little details that have been translated over, like the guns, and then this sort of ammo belt here on the top, as well as sort of on the top of the chest there. Wait, the one on the top and then the one on the waist. My mistake. It looks really cool just to see those little details carried over, and you could argue that, you know, you could go ham bone on that detail and make that ammo belt or the top belt look, you know, even more accurate. But in my opinion, I actually like the simplicity of it. Just that subtle little additional touch there is really all you need and looks perfect. And at the end of the day, if you don't really have the pieces or really know how to make it, because, you know, they would be quite small in a Bionicle, it might be a little bit difficult, just do something that resembles it in a fairly simplistic way, but still gets the job done, because it works, it looks good, it's so obvious what it is, and yeah, it looks fantastic. So it's really cool to see all those little details carried over. It really makes the MOC pop even more. I also really like all the cloth elements used on this, sort of having the little hood there, looks fantastic. And then it's also cool to see a custom cloth on the back there, using some of these Chima wing pieces as a sort of pseudo tailcoat. Sort of similar to the cape that Reaper has in the original source material. So it's cool if, you know, you don't have any cloth elements, you're running low on them, or you've used them in another MOC or whatever, you don't have to actually use cloth. You could very easily use random Bionicle parts and make a sort of cloth design out of parts. It looks great, gets the job done. That said as well, you don't have to limit yourself to just using the official cloth elements that LEGO's made. Obviously, if you look at some of the LEGO sets, we actually have a lot now. You know, we almost get them with every Star Wars Ultra Build set. We had one or two in Hero Factory sets. We've had a couple from Bionicle as well, of course. The old Technic Vader has some, and Captain Phasma, that's another Star Wars Ultra Build. There's heaps. Even a bunch in a bunch of different colors as well now. It used to just be black, now we've got red and tan and all sorts of things. So very cool to have such a nice selection of cloth elements. So you've got a lot to play with there, or just go down to your nearest sort of supply store and buy some cloth and cut something out yourself, you know. Be a great way to do it, would work totally fine, and who cares, you know, it's just cloth. Just sort of touching back on some of the things like the mask and the belt and everything, it's nice to kind of look at an original source image, whether it's from a video game or anything else, and just kind of study it until you go, you know what, that kind of looks a little bit like this piece. Or, you know, you could look at it and be like, dude, that piece, there's no piece in the LEGO gallery that looks anything like that. But, you know, it's a very smooth texture, so what parts do I have that sort of smoother texture that I could use as an analog to that? You know, or little things like Reaper has those little claws all over his body, you know, you can add little claw elements and fun things like that. And who says you even need to identically copy what he has? You can always add a little bit of creative licensing and do what you want to build the MOC in the way you want to. So a fantastic MOC for Mr. Rondo Productions. Let's move on to the next MOC now, which is Halo Grunt by Nathaniel. So this is a fantastic MOC. Nathaniel's done a few other really awesome video game inspired MOCs, so definitely be sure to check out some of his stuff. There'll be a link to his page in the description, of course, so be sure to give that a look. What I really like about this design is the little stand that he's got. It's just a cute little one. It's got a little bit of system on it, some like flowers and various things like that. Adds a lot of character. really sort of enhances it in a really cool way and makes it look really nice on a shelf. So if you want to display your mock, adding a little stand like that could be a really, really nice way to do it. Also really cool to see some rubber bands being used here. There's rubber bands, of course, in the sort of face with this sort of gas mask design that a Grunt normally has. Here, of course, is an analog from the from the game. Here is the original source material. We can also, of course, see some rubber bands, though, at the top there, sort of on the larger back bit that he's got there. At the very top there, a rubber band is used to sort of help attach that Knight's Kingdom sword to sort of get that little stripe of silver at the top there. And I think that's great. There'll be some parts that you use that it's just too difficult to attach it in any other way. So use some rubber bands. Why not? Like, it gets the job done. It looks great. Lego has official rubber bands too. So technically it's nothing illegal or whatever. You're not breaking the law. No one's going to come and arrest you. You can just use rubber bands. Or, just use some rubber bands that you bought down at the shop. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So I think that looks good and is a really clever, great way to use some parts that you may not otherwise be able to with rubber bands. Also really cool to see a bunch of Krana parts on here, using them on the sort of same orange part there as a kind of greeble, or using them down there on the wrist on the Grunt. Looks fantastic. Kranas tend to have a sort of different off color to them. I mean, the orange one is very much orange, but some of the Kranas that came with the Borat Cal sort of had a more metallic finish to them. So it's really cool because Grunts actually, and most of the aliens in Halo tend to have that sort of, kind of metallic edge to the color schemes that they have. So adding that part in there I think is a really nice addition because it kind of gives that alien-esque texture. And you kind of get a very similar metallic color on the Super Battle Droid part that's used on the top of the head there, which is a fantastic part use because there's so many different connection points on that it would have been very pivotal in making that head design. So that looks amazing. It's also cool to just see a Halo Grunt. Obviously you could have made Master Chief, or you could have made Cortana, or someone from Halo that's a pivotal character, but just making a Grunt, it's fun, it's simple, it's just a tiny build too. It's great to see some of the other characters that, can be a little bit more funny, or are just a highlight, or just, a general henchman, whatever inspires you, build it, It doesn't have to be a pivotal character or your favorite one. If you want to just build a cute little character to honor one of your favorite video games, go ahead, build, you can literally build any of them, Possibilities are truly endless. Also, I really like that gas mask design. Very nice design, looks cool, the rubber bands really improve it. And, you technically could just translate that onto one of your other MOCs. Obviously it's a Halo Grunt and they kind of have that face design, but there's no reason you couldn't give one of your own MOCs a gas mask design. And I think that's awesome, is how these MOCs can very much inspire your own designs and your own characters, or just studying character designs from various video games or even movies. There's a lot of really, really cool character concepts. Like something like Mad Max, there are some crazy cool looking characters in there, and some of the designs would work very well for Bionicle. So be sure to study some concept art and other character designs and things, because there's a lot to learn there, and a lot of things you can, of course, apply to one of your own MOCs. Also really cool to see a brick-built version of one of the Halo guns there. What a great idea to build some of the guns from video games and then apply them onto MOCs, whether they are MOCs of the characters in the game or your own MOCs. Maybe you want to give a plasma rifle to your self-MOC, so why not do it? Be great, and it'd be fun to build too. So great job, Nathaniel. Let us move now on to the next MOC, which is Phazon Suit Samus by Patrick Biggs, otherwise known as DV. So something that's really fun about this is reading the description, and I always recommend reading the descriptions on MOCs because sometimes they give you nice little tips about the sort of behind the scenes with making this MOC that can be very informative and you can learn a lot from. So Patrick was saying he originally started building this in the original Samus color scheme, the sort of orange and red and everything, and realized he does not have enough parts in those colors. And so, obviously, having played a few of the Samus Metroid games, he decided, you know what, I'm going to make the Phazon suit, which is a sort of black and grey variant, as we can see here in these photos. So that's really cool, isn't it? Sometimes you're a little low on some colors. You may have used it in another MOC, or just flat out don't have enough of it. And grey and black is such a common color too, so a really nice choice to change the color scheme of that. And, like for something like Super Smash Brothers, where, each individual character you can pick from, you can change the color scheme of each one, or pretty much any video game, which that is normally the case. Pretty much every character has a different costume of some kind, or a recolor, or something like that. So always a good idea to do that. Do you actually want to build it in the base color set? Maybe there is another version that you could do, or heck, why not recolor it? Doesn't have to be that one color. Might be a little less recognizable, But, you know, if you want to build it purple, why not? Also a very fantastic, well-designed shoulder design here, using some of these, I believe those are Robo Rider feet there, for the little sort of splash of red on the sort of circle bit there on the front of the shoulder. Also really cool to see various Hero Factory shells around the edge there to create that sort of circle shape. Looks fantastic and fits the source material perfectly. You know, I think that's one of the most iconic things about the Samus suit is how it has that sort of shoulder pad design like that. And again, like I was saying before, what a fantastic thing to take away from this. And maybe you yourself could put a sort of really cool big circle shoulder pad design like that on one of your own MOCs, whether it is a video game character or not. So really, really cool, and really cool to see how that translates into Lego. It looks fantastic. Speaking of how cool it is to translate into Lego, that's a brilliant head design and uses a lot of system slope parts and various other things like that very well. Definitely a lot to learn there in terms of making a custom head out of system and making a head that matches the source material very, very well. So great job, Patrick. Also really cool to just see some very simple but very effective arms there. You know, the upper arms are essentially just a normal Hero Factory bone. And then the lower bit there is a more primarily system design. But it looks fantastic. It doesn't need to be much. You know, it gets the job done. Having it a bit more slimmer also allows for a lot more posability. And not going too ham-bone on the design really fits the sleek, smooth design that the armor naturally has in the source material. So I think that's very fitting and works very, very well. That about does it for today's episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Be sure to check the links in the description for MOCs that you saw in today's episode, as well as links to my social media, where you can, of course, recommend various future themes or future MOCs that you'd like to see on the episode. Let me know if you got inspired today. Let me know if you want to see video games number 2, because I'm always happy to repeat past themes. So if you want to see those again, let me know. Also, let me know if you were inspired and show me what you built. I'd love to see what you did. That's about it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next one. Happy building.